Tier 7, we get into guys that are in split backfields, but have a path to some upside. We have Kareem Hunt, who should stay in a 50-50 split, but 50% of the Cleveland Browns offense is fantastic when they're behind a great offensive line, a very efficient running game. We saw last year what Hunt could do. Unfortunately, it didn't go nuclear the weeks that Nick Chubb was out, which is why he's moved down a little bit. Admittedly, I did have him higher last season. Not much has changed about a situation. If anything, it's gotten slightly better, but I just can't feel comfortable having such a cap ceiling with Kareem Hunt. That dream of him taking over if Chubb goes down has just been a little bit tarnished for me. Javonte Williams, we've gone in depth on him on this channel. Love him in dynasty leagues. He's a guy I expect to fully emerge by the end of the season. He's a guy that you can wait and
late bloomer
grab as a super deep RB3, a very comfortable RB4 if you're going with a very running back heavy roster, especially in like a 14 team redraft league where running backs are at an even extra premium because there's more teams looking for these running backs. I mean, who knows, man? We saw some of the rookies blow up last year, even some of the guys that we didn't expect, that we didn't even see coming, like James Robinson. Javonte, from a prospect standpoint, looks very similar to David Montgomery from the way that he's breaking tackles, the way that he's built as a running back, and he showed he can get it done in the passing game in college, putting up the same reception totals and splitting the backfield with Michael Carter, who's also in this range, a guy that has a pretty clear path to take over for the number one. We just don't know how soon he's going to get the mantle, if he ever does. Who knows? We might have Ty Johnson. We might have Tevin Coleman, who the Jets brought in, competing with Michael Carter.
Regardless, I do think Carter's going to be involved in this backfield. I think between Ty Johnson and Tevin Coleman, one of those guys is going to emerge kind of as that lead runner. But Carter, they drafted him to have some sort of involvement, even if it's just as, a pass catching back early on. I think he will have a role which makes him valuable. And to hit on another rookie in this tier, Trey Sermon's here as well. He's someone in redraft formats, which is obviously what we're breaking down here. I view very similar to Javonte Williams in the sense that they should have a role early on, but as the season progresses, could get more and more involved. And this San Francisco offense definitely has upside. We've seen that Shanahan run scheme, and Trey Sermon could be another late bloomer, a guy that breaks out as the season goes along. Steph, I'm going to let you talk about the last guy we have in this tier because this is an absolute travesty. Honestly, I think Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette should both be in tier 7, both values right now in drafts. For me, Ronald Jones in that Tampa Bay backfield, it is a little bit murky in terms of situation, but we've seen the efficiency he's had. And if he gets those 12 carries and can get 50, 60 yards and a touchdown, maybe a target or two, he definitely can be a streamer, if you will, at the running back position. But yeah, we do have Leonard Fournette in this tier as well. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you've heard about the Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones debate. So I'll let Steph talk about Fournette.
All I'll say on Fournette is he gets the most high-value running back touches in what should be one of the best offenses in the NFL. Brady will keep that offense humming. They're going to have goal line opportunities. Even if Gio Bernard impacts a little bit of that volume, I'm still looking at it like Gio Bernard's a Chris Thompson, and I'm not going to fade a guy who has, I'm not going to say RB1 at this point because Ronald Jones is there, but let's just say mid to high end RB2 upside, a very streamable running back, a guy I love at his ADP right now in the 7th, 8th round to just continue to shore up my running back core and make sure I'm not relying on A.J. Dillon or Gus Edwards as a guy I need to plug in. Instead, give me Leonard Fournette or any other names in this range, to be honest with you. And then our last tier here, your boy Ronald Jones, Raheem Mostert, also another guy in a split backfield, but we've seen those boom weeks before. We know he is one of the most electric runners when he's in the open field.
If he stays healthy, he's a steal right here for sure.
100%. 100%. Zach Moss is another guy that he could ascend and take that step up, but for now, we're kind of unsure on his role. Is he splitting it with Devin Singletary? And as I'm seeing Devin Singletary get just dragged through the mud right now on the timeline, I think people aren't looking at his production. They're looking more at his measurables when they're fading him, and I understand the reasoning with that. I have a really tough time.
He's a plug-in guy. Yeah, he's gonna get some usage, and we'll get to more sleepers. I mean, this is gonna be the last tier we break down on today's podcast. We'll get into some deeper sleeper running backs, and of course, as we've plugged plenty on this podcast, jump into our Discord and ask us about some of these deeper names because we've talked about them in the past. We're gonna continue to talk about them as we get closer to the season. But I'm with you on Singletary.
And you know things are going to change as the year goes on. Now, I put our boy Tony Pollard in this range because we love him in drafts. He is the number one ultimate handcuff to target if you're going to go after one. We've talked about Damian Harris on the show. He's being a little overvalued now, but there are certain leagues, certain drafts that I'll be in, especially on Underdog Fantasy, where Damian Harris will fall and can be a value. Just going to be interesting to see what his role looks like. Even if he does take over as the clear number one on that backfield, he may be splitting touches through the air with James White and on the ground with Sony Michel. And certainly, as we get closer to the season, things are going to change. Players are going to get cut. Guys are going to get injured. Crazy things are going to happen inevitably like they always do. Keep rocking with us here on the show if you guys like what we got going on.